Hi, Sue here from Mystic Matters, and this episode of Exploring Popular Opinion, I'm going to be looking at pollution. There's so many different forms of pollution. Some it's more obvious and some's more subtle. We're looking at pollution of the seas, we're looking at plastics, we're looking at the chemicals in the air, pollutants in the food we eat, things that we ingest, healthcare, well, not healthcare, but products like cosmetics and things like that. There's so many different forms of pollution. And then, of course, you've got the things like dumping of toxic waste and things like that. So it's a massive, massive subject. So I don't want to take everything individually. I just want to look at the energy behind pollution as a whole. Why do people pollute the planet? What's their motivation? How did it get started? And have a look at things like that, because it's a massive problem that we've got, and people are trying so hard to clear it, and other people are trying just as hard to keep polluting. So it's a very difficult subject. I'm just putting out the Celtic cross, which I'm doing, which is 10 cards. I'm nearly done. So look at the energy behind pollution. And this has nothing to do with my own opinions. I'm just literally just reading the cards. All right. As anyone who's watched this before, I use my pendulum for going more of a deep dive into certain areas. All right, pollution. Okay, we're starting off with people having new ideas. And these new ideas are ones that cause pollution. And it's not necessarily because that was intended that way, but this is what we've got at the moment. Pollution is being caused by people having new ideas and not letting anyone get in their way. They're going to go ahead anyway, whatever the cost, whatever anybody comes up with, trying to persuade them otherwise. They're very determined that this idea, it's of benefit, so the end justifies the means, put it that way. So it is based around new ideas, and thinking, well, we can help so many people. What's a bit of pollution? I mean, the earth can cope, kind of thing. Actually, they might not even think about whether the earth can cope or not. It's just something they've done, and maybe they've got away with it, or don't think it's a big deal. But of course, things kind of accumulate, don't they? But this is where it's starting off from. It's people with having new ideas and not letting anyone sidetrack them. What's challenging it is love. And this is quite interesting, because this is love and bonds that people have with each other. And it's challenging the people that are causing pollution. This is also the love for the earth, the planet that we live on. And there are massive organizations and groups rising up in order to negate the effects of the pollution. And some are actually going after the polluters themselves. So love is challenging these ideas, that if these ideas are going to harm either people or harm the planet, then love is going to try and overcome them. Excuse me, I must take a mouthful, I'm a bit dry. Okay. What's around at the moment is people are getting more concerned about health and vitality, and they're looking at kind of keeping the home fires burning, being kind of very strong and solid, very much more the maternal feeling. So pollution is really being challenged in a very, very big way, because this is the Queen of Pentacles is one of my favorites, and she's very much at gathering money and resources, keeping the home fires burning, looking after people, being somebody that's very strong and solid, and who will help people. So this is about, again, those groups of people that are rising up to try and overturn the effects of pollution in all the different areas that I mentioned earlier. And this is the energy of being very, very clear that they want the best for humanity, they want the best for the planet, and they're not going to accept anything else. And that's what's around at the moment. The motivation behind pollution is wanting to explore new lands and kind of not wanting to wait for things to come to them. And what I feel here, it's about, if we can't pollute in our own country, we're going to dump stuff somewhere else. And as most of us know, that happens all the time. So we poison someone else's home. And there's this kind of this energy feeling, oh, you know, we can do anything we want. And this is where it's quite interesting, because the challenge to the people that are actively and knowingly polluting is very gentle in a way. It's just repairing the damage and trying to shut them down. But there's not a feeling of violence. This is coming from a place of love, a love for the fellow man and a love for the planet. And this, again, though we know that the pollution isn't just on our shores, it's going everywhere. We're not. A lot of people aren't prepared just to wait for the damage to wash up on our shores. It's now about, I need to go out there and do something about it. So this has got kind of it's got kind of a few different kind of sides to it, this card. It's the polluters being prepared to let the waste go to other places, like with kind of plastics and electronics that get dumped in kind of maybe third world countries and things like that. But then we've got other people who are prepared to actually follow in the footsteps of the polluters to try and repair the damage. So there's a lot of kind of peaceful protest, but people are actually making a massive difference with the different ways that they're thinking about how to repair the damage. In the past, the Hermit card here, where the pollution kind of, when it started, was people that were quite solitary and thinking about that the new ideas they're having, and only thinking about the ideas themselves, rather than thinking about the problems that these ideas could cause. Maybe they really hadn't encompassed that. But a few of the other readings I've done in this series, some not very good ideas have come from a place of solitude, a place of people cut off from other people, not listening to ideas, not listening to the things they don't want to hear, and just going ahead anyway, and being very patient and being prepared just to wait their time, but they're going to go there anyway. So there's not enough input sometimes. Well, seems to be a lot. There's not enough input from people outside who could say, well, you do realize if you do that, then this could have effect on that. But when somebody's all enthusiastic about an idea, then they don't want to hear that. They just want to get ahead and do it, and think, oh, well, we can sort out the consequences afterwards if there are any. So this is again, the pollution came from ideas that came from a position of solitude. Maybe very clever people who are quite introverted, kind of sitting there and thinking about things. We can do this, we can do that, and oh, isn't this exciting? And now we've got a situation where love has got to save the day. In the near future, there's going to have to be a lot of focus and discipline. People need to really keep an eye on the goal, and the goal is to shut down pollution once and for all, whether it's getting rid of plastics, whether it's cleaning the oceans, making companies accountable for what is put into food and cosmetics, things like that. What's put in the air and the water. So it's about just focus and discipline on whatever part of the puzzle that we personally are dealing with, because we're going to waste our energy if we get frustrated and angry and irritable, which this card, the Chariot, can indicate that we have short tempers and get snappy, and that's not the way to move forward. That's just a waste of energy when our energy could be used in a better way. So it's needing to keep our temper with the people that are polluting. We need to keep this on a more loving energy. Love for if we can just link in to love for the planet and love for the people, then we're on the right path, rather than hate for the polluters, hate for the things they're doing. That just wastes our energy and ties us up in this feeling of, sometimes it can get to superiority, just because they're getting money for this and that and the other, and then we put ourselves in a superior position, and then it can get into self-righteousness, and then we're causing problems, and relationships, with people, rather than talking to them, we're barking orders at them, and that all comes into more of a warlike approach. And some of the polluters, yes, they know what they're doing and exactly what they're doing, and others, maybe not so much. Depends on how tuned in they are. But But getting irritable, getting angry and things isn't the way forward. To emphasize that this is a card of love and compassion for other people, understanding what other people are going through, the people that are living in rat-infested or cockroach-infested living situations where rubbish is in the streets and things like that. Helping people on the ground level, having compassion for the people that are really suffering. I'm in the UK, and we have the benefit of every week people come and they pick up all our rubbish and it's taken away. Now, it will possibly go to landfills and things, which isn't good, but but our homes and our personal environment isn't being polluted by the rubbish being left in the streets, but it's taken somewhere else, and that could be a problem. But I don't have to live with litter everywhere. Some people have no choice, and that brings infection and illness and things. So this is a lot of the problems with pollution. It creates physical injury and sickness, and people can die from it. So we need to look with compassion at the people who are being really very affected and try and find a way of clearing their spaces, getting hygiene as a main issue globally. If people are not being polluted or living in polluted environments, they're much likely to be healthier, less likely to need medication, or less likely to need help with their health. And from there, they can actually help deal with the problem in their own environment. But if this is something they've always known, it's quite possible they haven't got the health or the energy to do anything about it. So sometimes other people need to go into those areas, clean it up for them, and show them what living in clean environment means to their health, to their families, to their children, and then they can take it from there. And so love and compassion for people being affected is really very important. What we're looking at is people are being asked to really look at themselves and say, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here on the planet at this time? So this is something that everybody needs to look at. Take responsibility. What am I doing personally to pollute this planet? Not saying that, oh, I'm only one person, it won't make a difference. Because if 5 million people say I'm only one person, it won't make a difference. 5 million people make a lot of difference. So it's taking responsibility for our own actions in polluting. Do we walk down the street and just throw our rubbish on the pavement, or do we use the bins provided? What do we do chemical-wise within our homes? Things like that. If we don't buy the products, the suppliers will stop producing them eventually. If we know products pollute the earth and don't do us any favors, then why not? Why would they make them? I remember an athlete friend of mine being told, and she told me this, that she was told that the deodorant she was using had aluminium in it, and that could cause like breast cancer, things like that. So finding personal hygiene products that don't have chemicals in, all that sort of thing. But we need to take responsibility for ourselves. Say, what am I doing that is contributing to the problem? And that's where we're at there. Hopes and fears. Our hope is that if we are vigilant, if we hold on to this idea of a planet that is free of pollution, to the best we can possibly do, keep hold of that, keeping ourselves accountable, buying products that won't pollute and will help the hygiene and things like that. So this is in the personal responsibility is in the position of hopes and fears, hopes that we will be able to keep up our end of the bargain, and fears that other people won't. It's got to be, we all live on this planet, so it has to be united. It has to be united effort to rid the planet of all these pollutants, which are relatively new in the grand scheme of things. 100 years ago, we weren't in this situation. It was very much more natural processes and things like that. And it's just kind of escalated, and we are where we are. At the end of the day, it's also important not to get overwhelmed and try and take on more than we can physically handle. Just do our own bit, slowly but surely. Don't waste our energy getting frustrated or angry. Come from a place of love and connection to the planet, to the other people that are on this planet. Doesn't matter what country they live in. We're all brothers and sisters in some way or other. But if we feel overwhelmed, if we look at the whole picture of the amount of pollution, it can seem overwhelming, and we think, I don't know where to start, and therefore we don't start. We just get into bed and cover ourselves with a duvet and just hope it all goes away. But if we can just take everything in bite-sized pieces, each one of us doesn't have to take on the whole of pollution. We can just find one bit, just deal with one area that we can have responsibility for, and realize and recognize that there's other people who will be intuitively guided to look at the other areas that we don't have that draw to. And that is that's the strength, really, not to get overwhelmed. It is possible to deal with the problem, but not one person can deal with everything. We're just one piece of the puzzle. But if we all work together, then we are going to be able to deal with this problem, but come from a position of love and not to waste our energy getting really angry and frustrated with the situation that we find ourselves in, because that's just going to paralyze us. We need just to say, okay, this has happened. Whoever's been actively and intentionally creating this problem, they will be dealt with in time, either by people not buying the products anymore. That's going to be a process. In the meantime, we have a situation that we urgently need to look at. So let's focus on that first, and let the culprits, we'll deal with them at another time. It's and that's a way forward. But it's important not to be overwhelmed. This will take time, so don't take on more than we can physically handle at one time. It will take time, but our love for the planet and our love for the people, the animal kingdom, and everything, that will actually save us from the current situation we're in. We just need to be persistent and keep focused and keep, determined and keep our goal in sight. I hope that's been of interest, and see you again, hopefully. Bye.